Hello, sisters. This is probably the fifth time I've tried to make this video this evening. I have never done anything like this before, but I learned something today, and it was important enough that I felt like I needed to share it with you. And I just hope that I can express it in words the way that I felt it in my heart. And so I pray that you would bear with me. I I was teaching Bible story to my kids this morning, and the Lord showed me something. He is so good to show me things when I'm just kind of trying to study with my kids. And I'm so thankful when He does that because it really does bless me. And I get to see things that I never saw before. You know how it is. You're got somebody you get to study in, or you hear a preacher preach a sermon on something that you feel like you've heard 1,000 times. You feel like you could recite it, and God shows you something new, and it's awesome. Well, that was what I had today. I had that experience today, and I feel like it's really relevant to mothers, and that's why I felt like I needed to share this with you. So I'm going to try this again. I'm out in my schoolroom where I do homeschooling. That's why it says Mom's Thought Chart in the size of a brain behind my head, because I'm trying to plan for my next homeschool year. And I am sort of a tangential thinker that way, and I have to kind of put everything out in front of my eyes to then like get it organized. So this is where I am, and I have no makeup, and I don't care if you don't care. And I have a lot of hair, so I just threw it up in a ponytail, and that's just going to have to be good enough. I'm a very simple person. For those of you that know me, you all know that about me, and those of you that don't, I would love to meet you sometime. So please bear with me. I hope that I can say this how I want to say it. So I'm just going to start by reading you the story that we read this morning. We read out of Mark chapter 8. In those days, the multitude being very great and having nothing to eat, Jesus called his disciples unto him and saith unto them, I have compassion on the multitude. Getting a low battery signal, sorry. I have compassion on the multitude because they have now been with me 3 days and have nothing to eat. And if I send them away fasting to their own houses, they will faint by the way, for divers of them came from far. And his disciples answered him, From whence can a man satisfy these men with bread here in the wilderness? And he asked them, How many loaves have ye? And they said, 7. And he commanded the people to sit down on the ground. And he took the 7 loaves, and gave thanks, and brake, and gave to his disciples to set before them. And they did set them before the people. And they had a few small fishes, and he blessed, and commanded to set them also before them. So they did eat, and were filled. And they took up of the broken meat that was left 7 baskets. And they that had eaten were about 4,000, and he sent them away. So this is one of the stories of Jesus feeding the multitude with the loaves and the fishes. So I'm reading this to my kids today, and this is what kind of dawned on me. I remember learning in science with the kids, and you probably all remember this from science in school, and those of you that are teachers certainly know this, that we learned in science that matter cannot be created or destroyed. And so one of my kids asked me today, so what happened when he broke this bread, Mom? Did it just were there bunches of loaves that appeared, or did it just keep filling the baskets? And I said, I don't really know. I'm assuming that he broke that loaf and it just kept coming and coming and coming and being an abundant supply. It's kind of what it sounded like to me. And I told my kids, because this just, boom, it came to me. I said, you know how we learned that matter can't be created or destroyed? They're like, yeah. And I said, well, this is how you know that Jesus is God. You know that he's the creator because only he could do this. Nobody else can do this. Nobody. I mean, he made loaves and fishes. I can't command a coffee filter be made when I want one in the morning and I'm out. You know what I mean? I can't do that. Nobody can do that. Only Jesus can do that. And it just struck me that it is so important for us to instill in our children that this world was created by God, which probably most of us teach, and that Jesus was the creator and that Jesus is God. And, if Jesus isn't God, if he's not the creator, then he can't feed the 5,000. And he can't defy gravity and walk on water. And he can't control the storms. And he can't command diseases out. And he certainly can't raise from the dead. And that's a very slippery slope. And that is why the teaching of evolution is so bad. Because the teaching of evolution is in direct defiance to the deity of Christ. And, your kids, it does not require much to be exposed to evolutionary thought processes that can be very slick and very convincing. Evolution is not an outright lie. It is a half truth of deception from the pit of hell, like every other lie that the devil tells us. That's what it is. There's enough truth to it that it makes it palatable. I told my kids if we had to give the dog some medicine, I wouldn't just give it to her straight up. She would never swallow it. But if I wrapped that up in peanut butter or like some pepperoni, then she would be on it. And the minute she ate it, she would know she had been deceived. But she would have been deceived because she was looking at the outside and the good things. And, it's the same way with evolution. There's a lot of compelling, interesting things that come with evolutionary things. I'm talking about very simple things like the nature documentaries that you watch on TV, or the books that your kids read from the public library, or the internet sources if you've got a child who really loves dinosaurs, or if you have kids like mine that really like outer space. It is littered with evolutionary thought. I mean, it's all through the whole thing. And one very small reason why I homeschool, I might get into homeschooling in a different video, but one of the very tiny reasons, it's not even the main reason, not even close, but one of the reasons is to sort of keep my kids from thought processes that I don't think they're ready for. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It finds us here at home on the Oregon coast where there's not that many people. It just finds you. Sin just finds you. That's just how it is. And I think about, like, back in history, the Scopes monkey trial was in Tennessee. It was in the middle of the Bible Belt. Like, it couldn't have happened. There couldn't have been a more biblical place than that, probably at the time, than that southern Bible Belt. And that's exactly where it happened. So sin finds us. And so my point in saying this is because it is really important that you are constantly teaching your children about Jesus and how he is God. I want my kids to be so convinced that God created the world that when they go to college and they sit under some biology professor or some engineering professor, that rather than questioning what I've taught them, they question what they're hearing out of this PhD person's mouth. I want them to be that convinced. Now, I realize that happens with salvation. I do. I know that happens with salvation. The main way that we know that Jesus is the creator is because of what he created down in here when he saved our souls. However, teaching is still very important. And as women, we are commanded to teach our children. And you don't have to homeschool to teach your child. You can teach your child at any time. You can teach them in the car. You can teach them at the breakfast table, especially for those moms that work. I know that you are very, very busy coming home and getting dinner, cleaning the house. I remember my mother was a working mother. We cleaned the house all weekend long and went to church on Sunday. And, we worked. My mom was a worker. And so there wasn't a whole lot of extra free time, but there is time. There is time to carve out and teach your children. And I think that we make a grave mistake when we think that taking them to Sunday school is enough teaching, or taking them to church is enough teaching. It's not enough teaching. It needs to come from us. We are the ones who love them above all others, and we need to be the ones who dispel truth to them. And so I want to encourage you this summer, while you are home with your kids, to get into the Word with them and really reiterate to them that Jesus created everything. So many things hinge upon Jesus being the creator. The abortion debate hinges upon Jesus being the creator. All of this business of sexuality has to do with Jesus being the creator. Suicide has to do with Jesus being the creator. Bullying has to do with Jesus being the creator. So many of the hot button issues that our kids are facing as they grow up in this world have their answers in Christ Jesus. They have their answers in the fact that you don't bully someone because they were made in the image of God, by God, and that life belongs to him. You don't commit suicide because that life belongs to him. You don't abort a baby because that life belongs to him. You were designed to be with an opposite sex partner because your life belongs to him, because he has all authority and he is the creator. It's so important that our kids know that this book is truth, that they're not tempted to dismiss these stories of Jesus because they don't understand how that could happen. The other thing that I saw in this today that was it was like it just blew my mind was the fact that he took what very little that they had, and when it was in his hands, it was multiplied beyond what they needed. And that he was concerned with feeding those people because he knew that if they went away from this meeting here, that they would very likely die. Is that not our life? Is that not our life? We get saved, we join his church, and we put our life in his hands. And he breaks us down, and he uses us to bless and to get his gospel message out to a lost and dying world. People that if they leave, when they go back out and wander in the wilderness, they're going to die lost. Yeah, I learned some things this morning, sisters. So I just want to encourage you, and I'm going to tell you what's going to happen if you've not done this before with your kids. If you've not been if you've not had regular devotions at home with your children where you've sat down as a mom, especially if you've got little ones and you've read the Bible to them, or I used to use, it's called the Beginner's Bible. I have it here somewhere. If I could find it real quick on my shelf over there, I would show it to you, but I don't know where it is in this room right at this moment. But that's how I started. I started when my kids were like 18 months old, and my oldest one, I would just read to him every day from the Beginner's Bible. And Satan's going to torment you, and he's going to tell you don't know what you're talking about, and he's going to try to make excuses why they're not going to listen to you, or they're not going to sit still, or you're not going to have time. And just fight through all that. Just push through all of that. Bible story is our best time of the day. It's the very best time of the day. And I'm not real great right at this moment about doing devotions myself and reading real well myself. And the Lord blesses me right along with my kids. And it's been a blessing. So I would encourage you this summer, while you've got time this summer, and it's early enough since all the kids have gotten out of school, you can make some more concrete summer plans. I would strongly encourage you to read some Bible stories with your kids if you're not in the habit of that. So, and if you are, I would like you to comment down on the Facebook, what are some of the coolest things that you have learned in doing Bible story time with your children? So I love you all, sisters. I don't know if this will be a regular thing or not. I'm not inclined to share things unless I actually learned it. So I don't foresee like doing this every week. I might do it every week. I don't know. I just know that I can only share things when I've been given it to share. So that's what I did. So I hope that you all have a lovely weekend. Please pray for our church. We're going to be in revival next week. And I've got 4 kids that are lost. So love you all. Take care. Bye-bye.